Hi, welcome back to the Spirit Lounge. Hope you guys are all doing really well. Sorry for the delay in video this week. I didn't manage to get one done this weekend, but I was delayed on doing other things, so a little bit delayed, so uploading it today. So today's subject, I want to talk about the grand experiment. And you're probably asking, what is the grand experiment? Well, the grand experiment is everything that exists. It's the universe itself, the multiverse itself, and this infinite stage on which life transforms, creates, transforms and destroys itself. This constant churn of karma, and through the forces of free will and other universal forces, that this amazing tapestry called, what we call the universe, exists around us and all life within it, and that it's left to be what it is going to be through its own free will and volition, through its own perception, its own belief systems, and the forces of karma, of transformation, creation and destruction. Life continually expands, celestial bodies continue to expand outward. This universe is the grand experiment. It's the grand experiment that divine all possibility, divine source and grace, God if you wish to call it that, has manifested through thought, which is transmuting energy into matter, into form, into the building blocks of life, which then spark out and just create life in all its manifestations into niches, ultimately then serving purpose. This enormous universe of ours is the grand experiment, and everything in it is a grand experiment. It is an experiment. It's there for all possibility, divine itself, grace itself, to experience what it is. Because it's all possibility itself, but to experience all possibility, this universe, if you like, and the multiverse, because there's many universes, let's consider just our own, this one that we occupy in these human vessels that we're in today, are there so that source can experience itself from everything that can be possibly created, every action, every word, every thought, every intent, every energetic vibration and frequency that we create, be that positive or negative, dense or light. Everything from a subatomic particle to the largest land mammal and sea mammal that exists, every animate to inanimate object or being or sentient form, which everything is sentient, from human species to all the other species in this enormous universe of ours, is an experiment. It's left to be what it wishes to be. And we as human species, as experiencing the human experience that we are, because as we've discussed on other videos, that we're not human. We're not human, i.e. we didn't just suddenly become and are only human. There was nothing before, nothing after. We have one lifetime in these bodies. We are simply just mind and physical shells, and consciousness, which is a derivative of mind, as some scientists would like to tell you. And then it's all gone after death. There's nothing. It's not true. We have many lives before and after and now, parallel in other universes potentially. But it's all an experiment. We're here creating and forming for the sole purpose ultimately of expansion into our spiritual state. and to, and to return into the graceful state we were at the very inception of the human species to start off with. We came into it with pure grace, and we've sadly manifested it into what it is today. But this universe is a grand experiment. It's an infinite, enormous, immeasurable experiment that we can only think of in awe. It's impossible to understand. It's huge. The Milky Way galaxy alone, if we just look up at the night sky, on a lovely dark night where there isn't a lot of artificial light, that you can see the sky out of the city where there's far less smog. Just go out, if you do find an opportunity, to go out and look above your heads and see the fantastic tapestry of life, celestial body above you. The sheer enormity of our Milky Way galaxy alone is mind-boggling, and that's only what we can measure. Today's calculations, they state the Milky Way galaxy has 250 billion stars. We rotate around one of them. It consists of around 100 billion planets. It's around 52 billion light years in radius. It's 100 billion light years in diameter. And it's around 15 billion years old. The Earth is, I think, 4.5 billion years old. A light year is 6 trillion. One light year is 6 trillion human years. Now just factor that into your calculus of the mind, and you'll see how enormous this universe actually is. How enormous the Milky Way galaxy in which our solar system resides actually is. How young this planet that we occupy of 4.5 billion years old actually is. And how minuscule, infinitesimal a time the human species has been on this planet is. It's an experiment. Just think of the life that exists outside the myopia of the human species. I mean, life is around us all the time. There are countless, I don't even know how many hundreds of millions of species exist on this planet alone, on the oceans and on land and in the skies. The microscopic life and the large mammal life that we have around us. It's just a tiny, tiny infinitesimal speck of life in this universe, and we are part of this grand experiment. We can be any number of form that we wish, that resonates with our expansive state and frequency that we're in. The vessel that you'll occupy will always provide expansion to you from the state that you've achieved. You'll never go backwards. Become an animal or a bird or a dolphin, these are just illusions. It doesn't happen. But this is the experiment. This is what we're here as part of this grand experiment. It was all created from thought. Thought created the very origins that form life and allowed it to be what it will be. Created celestial bodies, these galaxies, solar systems, the universe, the multiverse, all forms of life within it. It's just left to be what it is and see what it becomes. This is the grand experiment. What are we going to direct and manifest the human species to become? If we drop down to what we are, what we're experiencing today, is asking Source is asking us through our spirit, what is it that we want our universe to be, our human species to become? What state do we want to leave our energetic, spiritual, metaphysical awareness and perception? There is a saying, I believe, where it's what we believe we will perceive, and what we perceive we will experience. The path towards enlightenment, as it were, is just opening the infinite book of all-knowing that resides within everybody and everything. That is where true awareness comes from. That is where all these videos come from. It's nothing special. I'm nothing special, because you all can make these videos. You just need to open up the same book that resides within you, because it's an infinite universal book of all-knowing, all awareness, all perception. It's your infinite spirit, in other words, which is infinitely connected to the divine, which is where within that everything exists. It is all one unified space. It's not even a space. A space defines limitation, boundary. It's just is. It's an isness of all things. It's just presence, knowing, love and grace, and an embrace of warmth that we're all present. We're all present within. That is the nature of all that is. That is source, that is the divine. That is what this universe is within. We're all within that. We're all connected as one. There is no separateness or disunity or disjointedness between us. But we're all part of this experiment. And the human species is part of what we want to make the human species, but what we do with the human species and the impact we will ultimately have as we venture into this grand experiment out there, into the vastness of all possibility and the celestial bodies above us. It's mind-boggling to think, what is it that we want to take with us? I think I would ask everyone to think about, drop away from the myopia of what the human experience is today, just for a moment, and ask yourselves, what do we want humanity to become? Because what we're going to become will be what we will ultimately take into the stars. Do we want it to be the unified galactic member embracing all life with love and vision and togetherness and unity that Star Trek seems to portray us as? Or are we going to be more like the Avatar movie? Which one do you think, or do you feel we will be? Well, right now, I'll be open. We are the Avatar movie. Hence, we're not going to be leaving this planet anytime soon on any starships going into space. Although some ufologists think that's happening already. Could be, who knows. But just think about what we are. When you look at this grand experiment, you look above into the stars, just think about it with sheer amazement. It takes you out, it will take you out of the myopia of our individual lives. No, we have to experience them here because we have to address them here. But when you look above, just remember, just for a moment, what you're part of, what the human species is part of. Above us is our possibility and our trueness, our infiniteness, because it's enormous, ever expanding, just like we are. Our infinite spirit is exactly the same. We're part of this wonder, the wonder of the heavens and stars above. What above us is within us. This infinite possibility. So we need to grow into what we see above us, not what we see in front of us on our mobile phones, or the myopia of our lives that we have. We all live in myopia. We all live in some kind of vacuum. We need to be considering others when we think about our lives as well. When we think about how we want to expand this world and to make this human experience what we want it to be, I would suggest that we need to be looking at how do we want it to be for those less fortunate than us. We have a tendency to think, well, how do we want it to be better for me, for our immediate families? What we should be looking at is how do we want it to be for those less fortunate than us? Because that's truly where change will come, is when we stop thinking about us first and we start thinking about others when we make decisions of what we will support externally with our actions, words, thoughts and intents. But they will also be shaped, they will also be guided as you move more internally towards your infinite spirit, because that is only grace and love. You can only think about others and be of service more than yourself when you do go into yourself, because you'll be forced. The infinite, when you attach to the infinite, it's not possible to look within a vacuum, to stay within a vacuum. It's impossible to do so. You will just implicitly, by that shifting of movement inwardly, see yourself completely differently. You'll be wearing different glasses through which you will perceive the human species, this planet, and the galaxies above our heads. The enormity of the universe you'll start contemplating and understanding you're part of. You'll absorb those energies through meditation in peaceful times. And you'll open up to channel through yourselves and open up that book of your infinite spirit, your infinite true self, your energetic sense of presence. All that is, all that we are, the isness of everything, the divine grace of all that will be, can be, ever will be, and ever, and has not been yet. All possibility in timelines. This is what we are. This is the grand experiment. Have a look at the sky and just settle down for a moment and see the enormity of which we're part. And it'll start bringing into the mind, which is where the boundary to understanding actually is. Ironically, the mind is where we see all knowledge and how we store, where we measure ourselves intellectually, but to be honest, it's the mind that will block you from seeing the trueness of reality. It will store all the information you need about the physical world in the mind. You can be as intelligent as anyone on this planet about the mechanics of the quantum world, the human world, the natural world in the mind. But you will not be intelligent to reality and the infinite nature of things unless you connect to the spirit and align it with your heart. That is where knowing, feeling knowing. Remember, information is really light. Light, when people talk about light, they really mean information. Photons is information. The light within us, the infinite book, is really just energetic information. Knowledge, truth, which is within us. And it opens up the awareness of what this grand experiment truly is. We come into this universe all the time. Many, many lives, many, many experiences. This is the truth. You don't have to accept it. It's fine. We all have free will to nurture ourselves whichever way we wish. But we come in here many, many times. And you'll come into this universe to expand yourself. And by doing so, expand the species in which you reside in, the human species in this case. And you move it forward. Each time. All 7+ billion of us will keep doing this until we reach a moment where incarnational life or expansion is no longer serving a purpose, because we've moved beyond it and we're becoming closer to what we are when we're not in body, when we are in body. For that is truly the journey we're on. So I hope this explains something about the grand experiment that we're in, because we are in a grand experiment. It is a beautiful, amazing tapestry of possibility. So enormous, our minds will never be able to contemplate the enormity of it. But just look upon it in the evenings when you can see a sky, smogless sky, so you can see the vastness of the Milky Way galaxy splayed out above you. And just think that your spirit is more than that. It's everything that you can't see and everything you can see. And that we are much, much bigger than our bodies. Much, much more than our minds and our ego and our narcissisms and our intellectualisms and all the other isms in the world that we follow, that we need to move away from. It's a grand experiment in which we all have a part to play. We have a character on that stage, a different one every time. Just decide how many bodysuits, how many characters you want to play, how many times you want to come down and stand on that stage again, and change what this world is by thinking how you want the world to be for the people less fortunate than you. Because if you direct your actions externally and what you support through that, then things will change a little bit better every time. Because doctrines, ideologies, fixed ways of thinking, organized religion as well, will come to the more metaphysical eventually. All these things that tie us in to movements and camps and identities, they will move you further and further away from your true self. As you move further and further toward your full true self, all of those things will fall away. You have to be brave to accept that this will be the case. If you're brave and courageous to start that journey and not look back, then you'll truly find out what this is really all about. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I tried to make this short, shorter than the last one, but that was difficult to explain. But I do value the comments that came from the last one about the quantum field and the tea bag. So I enjoyed making that. So thanks for listening, and please like and subscribe and share to as many people as you think will be interested. Again, the book's out there. It does cover these topics a little bit more in depth. It covers a lot of them in these videos that I have, and other videos that I'm putting up on different subjects. So I appreciate anyone who does buy that, by the way. And thanks so much, and we'll talk again. And thank you again, and love to you all. Thank you.